Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Bava Batra. We are up to Perek Yud Mishnah Hey. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'elui Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Ranbai, Veliyahu ben Burchai, Israelov, Chana bat Miriam, Sason ben Rayin, Yoshua ben Shifra, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen. And Le'avdi ben Chaim L'chaim v'derefua, Shenemav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, Betoch Shachol Yisrael, and the Chama Merav Binyamin, Od Zion Chai ben Dvorah. The Mishnah continues its discussion of the laws of documents, teaching a law regarding a loan document that is partially paid up. Mi shepara miktzat chovo, someone owed money to another person and paid back part of his loan. The loan had been recorded in a document, v'ishlish et shtaro, and the lender, with the consent of the borrower, gave his loan document to a third party to hold. The normal procedure in such a situation is that we allow the lender to keep the loan document and we write a receipt for the partial payment and give it to the borrower, who will produce it if the lender attempts to use the document to collect the entire loan at a later date. Here, the borrower and lender did not wish to be bothered with writing and keeping a receipt, and so they decided to trust a third party to hold the document for them until the balance of the loan was paid. V'amarlo, the borrower said to the third party, Im lo natati lach, if I do not give you the balance of the loan, mikan vad yom ploni ten lo shtaro, between now and such a day, give the lender back his document so he will be able to collect the entire amount of the loan again. If this occurs, the money I'm giving him now should be considered as a gift. Now, when the document is given to the third party, the borrower is protected, but the lender loses the ability to use the document to collect the rest of the money he is owed. To reassure the lender that he would indeed repay the balance, the borrower agreed that if he did not repay the balance by the agreed upon time, he would allow the third party to return the loan document to the lender, which would allow the lender to collect the full amount again. Despite the partial payment already made, the borrower is not required to accept this penalty upon himself, but he agreed to do so. And again, he said, if this occurs, the money I'm giving him now should be considered as a gift. Higias man v'lo natan. The time arrived and the borrower had not repaid the rest of the loan. The Mishnah cites a dispute as to what the third party must do. Rabbi Yossi Omer iten. Rabbi Yossi says he should give the document to the lender, and the borrower must suffer the penalty that he accepted upon himself. Rabbi Yehuda Omer lo iten. But Rabbi Yehuda says he should not give the document to the lender because the borrower agreed to the penalty only because he was sure he would repay the loan on time. Such an agreement is not legally binding. An agreement of this type is known as an asmachta, a conditional commitment. In an asmachta agreement, a person agrees to give something to another person if a certain condition is fulfilled, in a situation where he believes that the condition will not be fulfilled, so he will never have to pay. Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion that an asmachta agreement is legally binding, and if the condition is fulfilled, the person must pay. So in this case, the borrower must allow the third party to give the document back to the lender, who can collect the entire loan again. But Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that an asmachta agreement is not binding, because the person never really meant to commit himself, as he was sure the condition would not be fulfilled. So in our case, since the borrower was sure that he would repay on time and the penalty would not come into force, even if he does fail to pay on time, the third party may not return the document to the borrower. The halakha is that an asmachta agreement is generally not legally binding unless the parties formalize it with a special kinyan in a court. Some require that the court must consist of specially ordained judges. The Rav explains this in further detail. And that is then of Mishnah Hey. Mishnah Vav discusses cases where documents may be replaced or exchanged. First, the Mishnah speaks about a case where someone's loan document is accidentally ruined. Someone whose loan document is accidentally erased, meaning witnesses testified that it was accidentally ruined by being smeared with ink or by being dropped into water so that the writing became illegible. Mi'idin alav edim can bring witnesses who know what was written in the document to testify about the document. They know the date on which it was written as well as what the document said, meaning the details of the loan for which it was prepared. Ubalifne bedin vosin lo kiyum, and come before a court that will prepare a document of certification, meaning a replacement document for him, which he will then be able to use in place of the original loan document. The replacement document may be prepared either by the witnesses in the court's presence, or the court itself may prepare the document based on the witness's testimony. The document begins by stating, Ish ploni ben ploni nimchak shtaro biyom ploni uploni uploni edav. This person, so-and-so, the son of so-and-so, had his loan document, which had been written on such and such a date, become erased, and so-and-so were his witnesses that were signed on the document. Now, the reference here is to the date that the original document was written, not the date upon which they saw it erased. This date is important because the lien that was created on the borrower's properties, which allows the lender to collect them to repay the loan, begins on that date. Now, the names of the witnesses who signed the original document must also be included in the replacement document in case the borrower wishes to claim that those witnesses' signatures were false and the loan never occurred. However, if the court determines that the original witnesses were genuine, their names do not have to be included. The names of the current witnesses that are testifying about the original document must also be included in the replacement document in case the borrower wishes to challenge their testimony as false. They then record in the replacement document all of the information that was written in the original document. The information is provided by the witnesses, and the lender can use it to collect the loan in place of the original document. The Mishnah now discusses what is done with a loan document when a borrower repays part of a loan. The loan document cannot be left in the hands of the lender because he would then be able to use it fraudulently to collect the entire amount of the loan. Nor can we ask the lender to give the loan document back to the borrower because then he will have no proof that he is owed the rest of the loan. Two Tanaim disagree as to what is done. Now, earlier in Mishnah 5, we discussed one way of dealing with the situation, the view of Rabbi Yossi in this Mishnah. Mi shepara miksat chovo. If someone paid part of his loan, Rabbi Yehuda Omer yachlif. Rabbi Yehuda says that the lender exchanges the old loan document for a new one. The borrower prepares a new document stating the amount that is still owed. The lender must rip up the original document and the borrower gives him the new document in his place. The lender would prepare to give the borrower a receipt for his partial payment and retain the original document, for this would pressure the borrower to pay faster out of nervousness that he will lose the receipt. But Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that the lender cannot force the borrower to agree to take a receipt if the borrower is willing to write him a new document with the remaining balance. Rabbi Yossi Omer yichtov shover, but Rabbi Yossi says the lender can write a receipt for the partial payment and give it to the borrower to serve as proof that he has paid part of the loan. He may then keep the original document. Rabbi Yehuda challenges Rabbi Yossi's logic. Amar Rabbi Yehuda said to Rabbi Yossi, if we force the borrower to accept a receipt for his partial payment, then it will emerge that the borrower will have to guard his receipt to keep it from being eaten by mice or lost, because if he loses it, the lender will be able to collect the entire loan. Why should we trouble the borrower in this way? Asking the lender to guard the new document, however, imposes no new burden upon him, as he had to guard the old document in any case. Rabbi Yossi replies, Amanu Rabbi Yossi said to Rabbi Yehuda, Kach yafelo, but this arrangement is better for the lender, as the borrower will pay him back faster because he is worried that he will lose his receipt. Velo yura kocho shel zeh, and the lender's power should not be weakened just because we are worried about the borrower. According to Rabbi Yossi, requiring the lender to accept a new document weakens his ability to collect the rest of the loan, because the new document will have a later date, and the lender will not be able to use it to collect mortgage properties that the borrower sold before that date. Rabbi Yossi holds that a new document may not be written with the old date, because in his view, ripping up the old document cancels the original lien that had created on the borrower's property, and a new lien can start only from the date that a new document is written. According to Rabbi Yehuda, though, witnesses can write a replacement document with the old date even without a court. All agree that a court does have the right to issue a replacement document with the old date that keeps the original lien, like the Mishnah taught earlier in the case of a document that became erased. Therefore, back to the Mishnah, what Rabbi Yossi was saying, we allowed the lender to keep the original document, and we write a receipt for the partial payment and give it to the borrower. Now, the commentators explained that Alayev follows Rabbi Yossi, so if one repays part of a loan, the lender writes the borrower a receipt, which he must keep safe until he repays the entire loan, and the lender keeps the original loan document. And that is the Nabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen v'Amen.